publishing business at that time, there were little cubicles on the top floor at Savile Row. There was people like Stevie Marriott, was like only 16, I think. He was younger than me. Clive Westlake was there. Kenny Lynch was there. Remember these people? And they were paid, and they'd come like an office job. They'd come in at 10 o'clock in the morning, they'd write till 6. The odd thing was, because the walls were very thin and they were like cubicles, they'd start off the day mostly playing a piano or vamping on the piano, and they'd usually start with one of the tunes that was already on the hit parade. And then you'd hear that hit start to transpose into something different. And they'd work at it all day, and at the end of the day, I'd go along there when I was in that position, back to see what I'd say, okay guys, anybody got anything to play? And they were all trying to get me to pay attention to their song. Obviously they're in competition with each other. And it was always very difficult because they drag me into the room and they play their song and I go into the next one. And the next song was just about the same tempo and the same song because the walls were so thin, they just locked into each other's songs. So you used to have to convince them that they should perhaps co-write this song and maybe they should both be composers. And that's pretty much how it worked though. And they were good. I'd get it written down as a top line and then I'd organise it. If I thought it was worth it, I would organise a demo session where, usually in Denmark Street, where I'd probably do 4, 5, 6 songs in a session, get Clem Cantini or someone on drums and make a decent trio and do a version of it. Vocals were always done by the writer themselves. 9 times out of 10 they were vocalists that could represent the song. And from those demos were the ones we'd take to the George Martins or the whatever producers, the A&R, the producers that were house producers in the major record companies. I mean, we used to, at Carlin, or Aberbarts as it was, I never really understood why in the royalties department I used to send a cheque to Dick Rowe and Norrie Paramore. They were the heads of A&R, one at EMI and one at Decca. And they used to just get this cheque and I couldn't justify. I was just told by the boss that I had to send them a cheque every accounting. Well, obviously, you know, we got more than our fair share of B-sides of the records that they were making in those days. So there was angles. Well, you started at 50-50, right? And you didn't like to compromise, but if you really had to be competitive, you probably would go the route of doing a joint publishing company with the writer, which would be a 75-25 split. But 50-50 was the de rigueur. Life of Copyright, of course, he retained as the publisher. Yeah, but we did a lot for it. You know, I noticed that the terms for publishing today, I believe, moved back towards the publisher again. They're getting better splits than they used to because there's actually a role for them in today's world that they didn't have for a long time, where the record companies were paying for all the development and the publishers just became kind of collectors. So their share, just through market forces, reduced.